You're not crazy. You're just inflamed. Your body is doing exactly what it's designed to do in this state of overwhelm. And that's incredibly important for you guys to remember. Like, we're not getting mad at our body. We're not getting mad at ourselves. Your body is doing what it's supposed to do. You just weren't prepared for this. And this is why I continue to talk about these things. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we debunk the eat less, move more, shrink more mentality and focus on what really matters, which includes your relationship with your body, food, self-worth, and the behaviors that align with all of those. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. At the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection. I am so excited to have you guys. I'm your host, Christina, and today we are talking about all things inflammation. But before we start, I'll make sure I have my remote. If you are new to this podcast, I like to just talk about my life, what's going on, a little banter, a little bit of catching up on what I'm watching, reading. So if you don't want to hear that, check out the show notes below to fast forward to our topic at hand. So, Love Island. You guys, I'm obsessed with this show. Like, I think about it when I go to bed, and Mark is up to date. Not only do I think about it when I go to bed, I like wake up and think about it. Like, I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but also listen to TikToks about it. I'm obsessed. I think I'm obsessed because I'm so obsessed with human behavior, and it is all things human behavior. So if you are not watching, you can fast forward this, but I am caught up, and just the shifts and pivots and the way these girls are acting and these guys are acting, it feels very performative, but also intriguing at the same time. We have the Huda of the world, who in this episode, you guys, I learned a new saying called midnight ballerina, which is basically a woman who works at a gentleman's club. And I thought that was hilarious. Midnight ballerina. You can use that. So they had this like heart rate challenge where like they had to like dance on each other and like almost give like lap dances. And she straight up was like professional. And so much so that like the cast ended up getting like really uncomfortable. And she just keeps doing shit like that. So there's her. I talk about her on Dating Deja Vu because the way she acted in a previous relationship. Then we have Nick and Olandria. This was like so cute, Bronx Tale style romance. And then they were like, we should just be friends. And everyone was really sad. And then you have Taylor and Olandria and Clark. Taylor's this like cowboy from Oklahoma. And he has these two beautiful women who I don't know why want his attention. My arms are bigger than his. Like, I can't. And he chooses the new girl instead of the girl he's been with the whole time. So anyways, it's just my obsession with it is really, really hilarious. I'm probably going to go through withdrawals once it's done because what am I going to watch? I mean, Big Brother will start soon, but I want to explain what reality TV is to me. Like, I also watch like documentaries and things that require my attention, but it doesn't require my attention. My attention is being given all day long, and that's why I love it. It's playful, it's fun, I laugh. I was cracking up last night watching it. So if you're like, why does this therapist who's a business owner watch reality TV? It is my guilty pleasure, disconnecting whole thing. So that is why. The other thing I started watching was the Alex Earl documentary, which totally like pumped me up because I did not realize, and I don't know when the documentary was filmed. I'm guessing it was filmed in 2003, no, 2004, or maybe 2005. I don't know. But that girl, she really has made, I mean, from nothing to something. Now I can say nothing because she was like a D1 athlete, so take that back. But her work ethic, her hustle, her belief in herself. I didn't realize that her business partner, the girl she started the podcast with, didn't take Dave Portnoy's initial second contract negotiation, which was basically if you stay with Barstool for a year, Call Her Daddy is yours. And you could sell it for whoever or however much. And then she ended up getting like a $60 million contract with Spotify, and it follows her on her tour. And it really inspires me because while she's talking about women's sexuality and like the shit that my friends and I used to talk about all the time, I talk about something that is a bit different and do it in a way that hopefully sounds like you're talking to your friend. And it's really about like empowering women. And I think if she did it, I can do it. And we're going to keep going in these efforts. So watch that as well. And then I am listening to Next Level or Level Up. I believe it is. Hold on, let me look. It's called Next Level by Dr. Stacy Sims, which I love Stacy Sims. Her training protocols and nutrition protocols are what we are following in the mindset of menopause. So I'm just the book is a lot of what I already know, but just listening to that. I also bought I pay way too much money for stuff. I bought the hard copy and I listened to it on Audible because I like to underline things. So I have that as well. Personally, this is the week of 4th of July when I am recording this. We have no plans. Next weekend I go to San Diego for my friend's birthday. But it's been pretty chill. It's been a pretty chill. Oh, I did clean out so I had this pile of clothes like I needed to give away. And yesterday, so I walked and worked out. I never work out on Saturday or Sunday, excuse me, but I was just feeling good. So I was like, let's go, let's work out. And I think that is really important for you guys to hear because I used to be in that, like, I work out on these specific days when it's like, especially going through perimenopause, like if I have the energy, I'm going to work out because some days I don't. Like today, I did not sleep well last night. And so I ended up just walking. Plus, I'm redoing my training. So it gave me a little rest day. Plus, I went hard yesterday. And then after my workout, I'm a girly who, if I don't have to change and get things done, I'd rather do that, even though I'm in my gross workout clothes. So I pulled out the stuff I need to get rid of. And then I had this hair up my ass to go through every single drawer and then all my shoes and then all my closet. And I had three big trash bags of shit that I gave away on top of the stuff that I had. And another bag of like, these are like high-end items, gonna sell them. So that walking into my closet today, I was like, this is so wonderful. It was great. Everything feels so clean and crisp and great. My drawers are reorganized. I have these built-ins in my house. They're reorganized. Like, chef's kiss. We love a clean closet and organized stuff. Organize your life. Organize your life. It'll make you feel better. And that's what we want. So that's what I did. I'll save the rest for another episode. Speaking of feeling better, today I am talking about inflammation. And what I'm talking about, your rings don't fit well. You feel very bloated. You feel very sluggish and off. You may have like less like lean looking muscles. You may just again feel like you feel puffy. You could see it in your face. And as we age, inflammation is a real thing. However, even if you're younger, because we have our average listener is anywhere from like, I was just looking at it today. Hold on. Let me look at this real quick. So on Spotify, our average listener is 28 to basically 59, with 35 to 44 being our top, but then 28 to 34 being our second top listener. So if you are in that 28 to 34, you will want to listen to this because everything I'm going to talk about will help you from becoming super inflamed as you get older, because as your hormones change, which I'm going to talk about, you will see these changes in how your body responds, both from your gut health, but also other areas of your body. So what is inflammation, right? I think that's incredibly important because I don't think that we understand it. So, inflammation is, we need it, right? So, acute inflammation is absolutely necessary for our bodies because when we are hurt, say we get a cut, right? Your acute inflammation helps you by swelling around the cut or the sprained ankle. It's your body's way to respond to like infection, to respond to stress, and to respond to toxins, which we need, right? Here, let me pull this closer. I'm going to pull you guys closer. There we go. Hi. If you're listening on Spotify, I just pulled the computer closer. If you guys could see my setup real quick, I love this couch so much that I bought a little like couch side table so that I can be lazy and sit on the couch and do this. Anyway, however, I digress. What we're talking about today is chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation can be incredibly harmful. It's a smoke alarm that won't shut off. Like there is something going on, but that smoke alarm just keeps going, right? Whereas when we have acute inflammation, once that sprained ankle is healed or the cut is healed, the inflammation goes away. And for my ladies over 35, especially those in perimenopause, the alarm starts getting stuck on the on position, quietly wearing down like things like your energy, quietly wearing down your mood, your metabolism, and even your immunity, which I think is incredibly important. I had a client, it's so funny to have so much knowledge in this now. I've been working with women for, like in the coaching space for, I think it's now 8 years. I worked in the like personal training group fit space for 15 years, but the coaching and nutrition space for 8 years. And then obviously body image space for the past 15 years as well. I remember my client being like, I don't know what's going on. I'm getting sick all the time and my mood is out of control. And I think I had enough information to say, hey, like, let's check out your hormones. Like, I feel like something's going on there. And she did. And the funny thing about this particular client is she is a mindfulness expert. So that's going to be important. We'll talk about that later about how our nervous system regulation skills are incredibly important. And sometimes the things that used to work don't work anymore. So we need to find a new set of tools for our toolbox. So as you guys have heard, like inflammation is supposed to be a part of this healing process, but when it becomes chronic, it becomes a source of disease. Inflammation in the body is linked to a lot of your chronic diseases like cardiovascular disease being one of them, metabolic disease, even things like type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. But let's talk about your hormones and how your hormones stress are like this inflammatory cascade that happens in your body. So, as I've said before, estrogen is very anti-inflammatory. It regulates your immune responses that keeps inflammation down. There are things called cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-A, and estrogen helps to keep those in check. We want that. We want them to be in check. In perimenopause, however, estrogen levels fluctuate, obviously, and I want you to hear that, fluctuate. I think a lot of us think they just start going down. No, they go bing, bong, bing, bong, bing, and that's why you get all these crazy symptoms out of nowhere and then nowhere at all. It's like, where am I going, right? So they fluctuate, but they fluctuate wildly, right? And then they begin to decline, right? So that drop pulls our body's natural anti-inflammatory shield, if you will, away from us. And your body has these feedback loops that help with things like this. So your HPA axis, which is your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, is what we have. It's kind of our feedback loop to help manage our stress in our body. Chronic stress, which is elevated cortisol, for those who don't know, cortisol is our stress hormone, equals a dysregulated immune response. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Your nervous system, endocrine system, immune system, and digestive system. For me, I believe they're all one system and they work when one is off, the other's off. And I'm going to have Dr. Heather Sarin on, endocrinologist, to talk all about that. However, the thing about it is estrogen and cortisol do not like to play nice. When both are off balance, right? Because we're in this chronically stressed state, our estrogen's off balance, your inflammation will skyrocket and your nervous system will start to spiral. So for me, I found that my anxiety, and not even when we think about anxiety, guys, I'm not talking about like panic, just this like heart in the throat feeling constantly. That there are days, I shouldn't say constantly, there are days when it's constant. This morning I woke up that way. I didn't sleep well. I have a bit of a headache today. So I'm having like perimenopausal symptoms today. Some days I don't. Some days I'm cool. You know what drives my clients absolutely crazy is they're eating clean and doing all the workouts, but they don't see the weight budge. Their sleep is all over the place. Their hormones are through the roof and they feel like they're going crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating because 9 out of 10 times it's something hormone related that no one's looking at. It's perimenopause, menopause. Our biology internally has shifted, but no one's changing the strategy as far as approach.
What if perimenopause support included like therapeutic guidance, nutrition, exercise, and hormonal support all in one place?
Seriously, it would be great if you didn't have to track down like 10 different experts just to feel like yourself again.
That's why I created the Mindset of Menopause and have partnered with Dr. Jordan Trapp to create a comprehensive plan to your hormonal health.
Together, we are making medical insight meet emotional strategy. So your symptoms make sense, your plan actually works, and your power comes back online.
This isn't just support. This is your comeback season.
Click below for more information.
And that anxiety is incredibly important to recognize, that discomfort, that unease, right? I don't want you to think like it's, again, that spiral, because my thoughts aren't necessarily spiraling, but I feel this tightness and like ball in my throat, not in a crying way, but just like, I think of it as like a burning brush in my chest. It's the only way I can describe it. So I want you guys to recognize and start paying attention to these symptoms because they're incredibly telling. And you don't have to be in perimenopause to have these symptoms. If you're already feeling that and you're in your late 20s, early 30s, like something is going on. Okay. And like thinking of the anxiety is we can't regulate the body, right? So if our biology is inflamed, and we can't do that if our nervous system is overloaded, right? So like we have to work with both, which is incredibly important. So let's talk about our biology and common drivers of inflammation. So as I already talked about, your estrogen decline and a cortisol elevation. So estrogen has receptors in every organ in the body, including the brain. There's a lot of estrogen receptors in different parts of the brain. When estrogen is fluctuating, so does serotonin fluctuates. And serotonin is our feel-good, like happy hormone. So when we have this decrease in serotonin, right, we have this increase in cortisol. And we don't want that, right? But it is inevitable in some fashion, but there are plenty of ways of handling it. So keep that in mind. One of the biggest thing is your diet. And this is why I talk to my girlies 35 and over to start limiting, and even you girlies in your 20s and 30s, like listen to this. Limit the processed food. That includes your protein bars, your protein shakes, your protein whatevers. Limit them because they have a ton of chemicals that are inflammatory in the body. The other thing that a lot of these foods have is they have a lot of high refined sugar. They have refined carbohydrates. So this kind of white flour, high sugary foods. White flour is stripped of all its beautiful fibrous fiber. And things like saturated fats. So your safflower oil, your sunflower oil, your vegetable oil, and trans fats, which we in the States have kind of nixed those, but we don't realize how much saturated fat is in our food. And all of these things can cause inflammation in the body. So refined sugars, processed foods, and those are anything in the box, a bag, or a sleeve, or a pint. Your refined carbohydrates, so those carbohydrates that are stripped of their whole state, and your saturated fats. So that's part of your diet. The next is poor sleep, which increases your C-reactive protein, which is an inflammatory marker in your blood, and it will lower your ability to repair. What is inflammation? And it helps to, quote unquote, repair. So it lowers your repair mechanisms. Then this is where we start seeing belly fat. which is a biologically active. It's a biologically active fat that secretes pro-inflammatory cytokines. So as our bodies are changing, as we're eating this processed foods, we're increasing the inflammation. Our cortisol is high, so we have all this blood sugar running through our body. Our insulin that used to be sensitive is now resistant, and we're increasing this visceral fat. This visceral fat then increases inflammation, just like a cycle. Boom, boom, boom. Then on top of that, we look at your gut microbiome, and leaky gut is something that I've heard a lot of lately. And Dr. Trapp can talk about this, is this kind of intestinal permeability that will then let these like irritants into your bloodstream. One thing I didn't say about diet that I think is important is that your body doesn't like foods that feel foreign. Foods that come from the ground, whole foods do not feel foreign to your body. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing how we work with this earth and how the earth works with us. Remember that, because we vilify healthy foods as diet foods when really they're the foods that feel safe in our body, whereas processed foods feel foreign. Okay. So then we have these irritants in our bloodstream, and our intestinal lining becomes less secure, if you will, of blocking those irritants. And so then those irritants get in our bloodstream. Other things like smoking is highly inflammatory. And alcohol, which if you guys want to check back on the podcast on alcohol in midlife, I talk a lot about that. The other thing is we have to move. And there's this concept that exercise is like, I don't know, like toxic for you. Yes, exercising too much can actually cause inflammation, but learning how to move and exercise in a way that supports what your body needs is incredibly healthy. Okay, so here's your starter kit. If you're thinking about a starter kit to be inflamed AF, here it is. Too much stress, too little sleep, a high diet of processed foods, skipping your strength training, doing all the cardio when you shouldn't, and having these unaddressed hormonal changes is going to be your starter kit, chaos, toxic inflammation, feeling like shit kit. Okay, so how do you know? How does one know if I'm inflamed? So in the mindset of menopause, every client is doing 5, maybe more, 7 assessments. And that sounds like a lot, but they're very short. And the assessments are a HPA axis assessment, a metabolic assessment, a nutrient deficiency assessment, a body image assessment, things like that. And for those clients listening that have already gone through the mindset method, these are different than the first assessments. They're brand spanking new because this transition needs its own set of skills, and the thoughts differ from even when we were 3 years younger. So how do we know if we're inflamed? The reason why I brought that up is I'm going to know for my clients that their inflammation is driving a lot of their symptoms because of the following. They're fatigued. They have brain fog. Their joints hurt. Their mood swings are crazy. They have that weight gain, and they're having gut issues. And for these clients, as I've mentioned, you all in the Mindset of Menopause have an option to work with Dr. Jordan Trapp. We're going to look at your HSCRP, so your C-reactive protein, to look at chronic fatigue. We're going to look at ferritin, insulin levels, lipid panels, and then, of course, like the Dutch test she's going to look at just to kind of get a full picture. Now, hormones are always changing, so this does give us these little snapshots, and it can show us, especially with that C-reactive protein, obviously your fasted glucose and insulin levels, it's going to give us some idea of what's going on, and then that's going to help you understand how menopause hormone therapy can be helpful, which is something that she can support you with, and also our list of providers all over the country that are certified through the Menopause Society. So that's going to be helpful for you, but just how you feel. Like, you don't even need the tests. Like, if you're feeling like you're puffy, you're feeling, again, fatigued, your joints hurt. I had a woman the other day tell me on Instagram, she said, I'm on HRT, but nothing's helping my joints. And I asked her, well, what does your food look like? Right? Because this is someone I know who's trained for a long time, who's ate in the traditional calorie deficit. And I'm guessing there's probably a lot of those processed healthy foods in her diet. Whereas if we can do what I'm going to tell you next, she can probably see a reduction in that joint pain. So you're not crazy. You're just inflamed. Your body is doing exactly what it's designed to do in this state of overwhelm. And that's incredibly important for you guys to remember. Like, we're not getting mad at our body. We're not getting mad at ourselves. Your body is doing what it's supposed to do. You just weren't prepared for this. And this is why I continue to talk about these things. Your girls and your boys, your children, hopefully through everything you're learning here and for the people hopefully you follow that providing good information, they will know that their friends' moms, their girlfriends, their whoever's in perimenopause, menopause, because you've educated them. So what actually helps? We need a strategy, not your previous strategy. And we also don't need supplements. I've had many clients go to doctors who sell them these exorbitant amounts, I should say, of supplements that are so expensive and they don't work. They don't work. They're called supplements. They're supposed to be supplemental to something else, which is your nutrition and your exercise. So let's start with nutrition. We want to add omega-3s to our diet. Omega-3s and monounsaturated fats. Those are your nuts, your seeds, your avocado, your olive oil, your salmon or fatty fish. They are incredibly anti-inflammatory. And we have to realize that back in the day, we used to have this 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s. And omega-6s can be inflammatory. Now of days with all the processed foods, it's like a 20-to-1 or 35-to-1. It's some crazy number ratio. So we need to get more of those omega-3s. Yes, you can supplement it, but everything should come from your food first. Your protein powders, your omega-3s. I was actually putting together my supplements this morning. And what did I put in there? I put something in there and I was like, I should be getting more of this from my food. And I don't remember what it was, but and so that's something I'm going to work on. Oh, I had psyllium husk and I'm like, no, I'm not going to put those in. I'm just going to eat more fiber. That's exactly what it was. So fiber is incredibly important as well. Fiber helps to bring down that inflammation in the gut microbiome. It helps to lower your blood sugar and keep you satiated longer and keep you from these high spikes in blood sugar because again, high fiber foods are whole foods. They come from the ground and they may be a bit processed. So I have this like high fiber bagels that I love. I probably should find a better option for them because there's still some of the like artificial ingredients, but they're bagels, right? They're not like seeded bread, which is a little bit better, but even that's a little processed, right? So high fiber diet, 25 to 35 grams of fiber is incredibly important. And then polyphenols. So what I like to say is like, you can eat the rainbow, baby. Your berries, your leafy greens, olive oil is a polyphenol, but your vegetables and fruits are so important. The beautiful thing is I don't understand when someone has a sugar craving. If it's summertime, you better grab you some strawberries. Strawberries to me, I probably said this before, are so fucking delicious. Like I eat them and I'm like, how is this good for me? This thing is so good. You want to add some little sugar in there, have some like low sugar dairy whip. That's the jam. We again want to remove foods that are ultra processed, high in refined sugars and trans fats. So eat foods that are whole foods. I'm going to tell you, as a coach, I used to be the person who's just like, well, if it fits in your macros, if it fits in your macros. And yeah, my 35-year-old, 35 under girlies, it fits in their macros and we go on with our lives. But once they start maturing, I'm like, okay, we've got to start slowly making that shift. And now, because I have this understanding, like I could prepare them for that. But some of my gals that are listening, like, you didn't prepare me for that. But like, well, because I didn't know, right? Like, I didn't know. I only know as much as what research is showing us. And that if it fits your macros was such a big thing in the past decade. And I saw results from it, and thousands of other my clients saw results from it. But as we get older, it's not that simple, right? So we got to reduce the sugars and the saturated fats. Next, we want to create a stress response. and find nervous system regulation skills that work for us. And I want to say again, what may have worked for you before may not work now, just because I want to share my experience with being in perimenopause. Like sometimes you guys, these emotions hit really fucking hard. Oh, let me get comfy real quick. I have to tell you guys about my Shein overhaul. Okay, my emotions were before like I'd have an emotion and be like, okay, like you're having this emotion, like let's take a couple deep breaths, let's pause, let's calm it down. My emotions now feel so hard to manage. They're so intense, you guys. And I feel like I can tell I'm in a constant state of like like heightened cortisol. Like I'm in fight or flight for absolutely no reason. Absolutely no reason. I wake up in fight or flight. What? Right? Like, and not all the time. There are days when like I'm happy today, and I do this journal every day. It's like, what are you grateful for? I'm like, I woke up happy today, or I woke up content. I woke up neutral today. Like, yay! But it's why I say like what used to work may not work anymore because they're so strong. And sometimes it feels like you have to sit on your hands and not speak. Because last Sunday, I don't know if I said this already on the pod. I think I did, but like it was so hard to not absolutely read my husband to filth for no reason. And I talked to him about it and I said, I was short with you because everything in me wanted to scream at you, but I knew because of the cognitive awareness that my emotion had nothing to do with him. I was having a high emotion day and that I needed to calm my body down. And so, one of the things that I've learned in all of my trainings around perimenopause and the menopause transition is your thoughts and your perceptions around what's happening to you are as equally as important as what you're putting into your body or how you're exercising. Because if I was like in that space and I didn't have that awareness, I would have been like, well, fuck you. Like, you're da da da. Or, I don't know. I'm not that dramatic, but you know what I mean? Like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And I would have just let it spiral. Guess what would have happened? I would have felt worse. Okay. Whereas what I did was recognize it. This is overwhelming. Like this feeling does not match what is going on in the environment. And it is solely hormonal. Let's breathe. I even disconnected for a little bit, just like going on TikTok. I was short with my words, but not unkind. And it went away. So, stress response can be awareness, then those nervous system regulators, the deep breath, the diaphragmatic breathing, legs up against the wall, walking, playing with my dogs. Playing with my dogs, listen, I would literally like stick my nose in their fur and be like, it's like a drug. Makes me so happy. Sleep. Sleep is important. And some of you are saying, how am I supposed to get sleep when I'm waking up in the middle of the night with hot night sweats and just bing, I'm awake? Your cortisol levels are the reason why that's happening. So if we want to have better sleep, we have to have a better awake time. And what does that mean? We need to do the last one I just talked about. We need to manage our stress. We need to eat enough food. We need to bring back, and this is a whole nother conversation, bring back our training in a way that supports our cortisol levels and start to have a consistent schedule with our sleep cycle. Setting up the room is incredibly important. So having a room that's cool. Obviously, for most people, I don't have this issue, but not eating about 1.5 to 2 hours after dinner is incredibly important, or 1.5 to 2 hours before sleep. Reducing the blue screens, just reducing anything that you can. And another thing you can do with sleep is drink a serving of tart cherry juice that actually helps to produce natural melatonin in your body. So again, low lights at night, having a screen curfew, setting up the room. But even more important than that, you got to manage your stress. If you're waking up at 2 or 3 or you're tired and wired, that is a stress response. And that's what we need to focus on. And then, of course, your movement. Strength training is restorative, right? It helps with increasing lean muscle mass, which is going to help with metabolic health, which is going to help with reducing that with the anti-inflammatory diet, reducing some of this visceral inflammatory fat. Yoga, walking is really great for this, and mobility over the endless cardio. That cardio, right, is something that feels very stressful on the body. So again, all of that chronic stress response happens, which then inflames the body, and we're not seeing results, and we're working really hard and not seeing results. And of course, you can work with providers and explore like your MHT. So why did we change from HRT to MHT? So we're not replacing hormones. We're just helping where we're currently at, because a lot of MHT is low dose. So it's not what your hormones were. It's low dose hormones. So working with someone who specializes in that, Dr. Jordan Trapp obviously is someone that I very much trust. She's young. I'm not gonna lie. Like, she's 30 years old. She'll be 31 in September. But the fact that she has solely focused in on like women's hormones, and mainly like thyroid and your reproductive hormones, and just her knowledge is insane, because, and I think this is important for you guys to hear, when she was diagnosed with leukemia, it took a very long time for them to figure out what was wrong with her, and she was getting gaslit by doctors. Now, she had leukemia, but she could relate to a lot of her clients who were in midlife going through something very similar. And through that, made her even more eager to help women, especially in midlife, because they tend to be the ones who are gaslit. She also works with women who are younger. So wrapping it all up, inflammation isn't your fault. It's your biology. And it's kind of just asking you like, hey, I need a little bit of support here, right? I need a little bit of support, and we got to make some changes here. So you've got to learn this new language from your body. Inflammation is a signal, and you don't have to decode it alone. You don't have to. We have the mindset of menopause. This weekend, I put in almost 100 anti-inflammatory recipes that you will have access to. And what I found were recipes that were, most of them, if they weren't like a crock pot or an air fryer, is going to be shorter, in less than 20 minutes to make, because I know y'all are busy. So you don't have to do it alone. I will have the training protocols, the nutrition protocols, the stress management protocols, all set up and laid out for you. So if you want more information on that, check the show notes below. If you haven't already, as I say at the beginning of every episode, I'm going to say at the end, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you could so kindly hit a 5-star rating and review. The last one I have is from December. So if you could just write something really sweet, it would take you 30 seconds. It would mean so much to me to know that this information is helpful for you. I have many people reach out to me on Instagram like, oh my God, this was helpful and this was helpful. Oh, I just heard this. If you could take that time to put into a written Apple Podcast review, I would love you forever. And I know some of you are like, but I already did a Spotify review. If you could just go on Apple, please, 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 please. And then, of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to this YouTube channel or click follow anywhere you're listening to podcasts. Follow the show. You can hit download so you can download it. So if you go on a plane, you can hear my voice. So I want you to remember to honor your biology, protect your energy, and stay fierce. And this one last thing, what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Goodbye.